Virgin lady cleaner forcefully fell in love with cold, wealthy CEO after one night of passion until the next day. Hours passed in awkward silence, broken only by thunder. Two strangers trapped in luxury while the storm raged. Alexander worked on papers spread across his coffee table, while Kayla sat stiffly, fighting exhaustion. Have you ever been trapped with someone intimidating, feeling your heart race with both fear and something else entirely? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. The lights went out in Manhattan, but for Kayla Brooks, true darkness would come with the dawn, after she gave her innocence to a man who'd throw her away like yesterday's trash. She never expected to be stuck on the top floor. Not tonight. Not during the worst storm to hit New York in decades. And definitely not with him. The elevators are down, Kayla said, clutching her cleaning cart as lightning flashed through the massive windows. I should have finished an hour ago. Alexander Kane didn't look up from his laptop, its blue glow illuminating sharp cheekbones and cold eyes. So-called maintenance. I tried. Power's out across half of Manhattan. That got his attention. The billionaire tech CEO finally looked at her. Really looked, his gaze moving from her uniform to her face with clinical precision. How long? They said maybe till morning. The penthouse suddenly plunged into darkness as his laptop battery died. Kayla heard him swear under his breath, followed by the scrape of a chair. Don't move, he ordered. There are candles somewhere. Lightning fractured the Manhattan skyline as rain hammered against floor-to-ceiling windows, turning the city into a watercolor of blurred lights and shadows. Kayla stood frozen, listening to him move through his own home with surprising confidence. A match struck and warm light bloomed. Alexander's face appeared, harsh angles softened by candlelight, making him look almost human. You have a name? He asked, lighting more candles. Kayla Brooks. You're new. 3 months with the agency. He nodded, placing candles around the vast living room. Alexander Kane. I know who you are, Mr. Kane. His mouth twitched, not quite a smile. Of course you do. Their fingers brushed as he handed her a candle, sending an unexpected jolt through her body. He smelled expensive, subtle cologne mixing with something uniquely male. Kayla stepped back quickly, heart racing. You might as well sit, he said, gesturing to a sofa worth more than her yearly rent. Unless you prefer standing all night. Hours passed in awkward silence, broken only by thunder. Two strangers trapped in luxury while the storm raged. Alexander worked on papers spread across his coffee table, while Kayla sat stiffly, fighting exhaustion. You should sleep, he said suddenly. I'm fine. You've nodded off 3 times in the last hour. Heat rushed her cheeks. Sorry, don't apologize. His voice softened unexpectedly. It's nearly 2 a.m. He disappeared into a hallway, returning with a blanket that probably cost more than her monthly salary. When he handed it to her, their fingers touched again, lingering a moment too long. Have you ever been trapped with someone intimidating, feeling your heart race with both fear and something else entirely? What unexpected connections have changed your life? When the emergency lights flickered on, revealing his steel gray eyes locked on hers, Kayla realized the storm outside was nothing compared to the one brewing between them. 8 hours trapped in a penthouse with New York's coldest billionaire taught Kayla one truth. Sometimes the most guarded men have the most to hide. The backup generator won't last, Alexander said, checking his phone for the 100th time. No signal either. Outside, Manhattan had become a sea of darkness with occasional islands of light. The storm showed no signs of stopping, rain lashing against glass like angry fists. Are you hungry? He asked unexpectedly. Kayla nodded, suddenly aware she hadn't eaten since noon. Come on, he said, leading her to a kitchen that belonged in a magazine. I can't cook, but I can make sandwiches. The billionaire makes his own food? I am shocked. The words slipped out before she could stop them. To her surprise, he laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his face. I wasn't always rich, Miss Brooks. As they ate sandwiches by candlelight, the formal distance between them slowly dissolved. 1 glass of wine became 2. Questions became conversations. Baltimore, she answered when he asked where she was from. Moved here last year. Why New York? Fresh start. My grandmother raised me, but after she died, Kayla shrugged. Nothing left there. His eyes studied her with unexpected interest. No family. Mom died when I was young. Dad left before that. Alexander's expression changed, something flashing behind his eyes. My parents had the decency to stick around, at least physically. Rich doesn't mean happy. Rich means different problems. He refilled their glasses. My father made sure I knew I was a disappointment daily. Candlelight danced across the minimal luxury of his penthouse, casting warm gold against chrome and glass, softening the hard edges of both the room and the man. Why disappoint? You built an empire. The wrong kind. Alexander's voice grew quiet. Old money doesn't respect new technology, especially when it outshines generations of banking. They migrated to the sofa as the night deepened, sharing the blanket as the temperature dropped. Their knees accidentally touched, neither moving away. Hours passed in conversation deeper than Kayla had with people she'd known for years. She learned about his college days, coding in basements, his first failed startup, the betrayal by his first investors. He asked about her dreams beyond cleaning, actually listening to her answers. The storm knocked a branch against the window, making her jump. His hand steadied her, warm against her shoulder. "Sorry," she murmured, suddenly aware of their proximity. "Don't be." His face was inches from hers, expression unguarded for the first time. When was the last time someone completely surprised you? When their mask slipped, revealing the person underneath? Comment below if you experienced that moment of revelation. "I haven't told anyone that story," he said, voice dropping to a whisper as he moved closer. "Not even my family." His fingers brushed against hers, and the electricity had nothing to do with the power outage. She gave him her first kiss at midnight, not knowing by morning he would take her heart, her innocence, and her dignity, leaving nothing but regret in their place. "You're staring," Alexander said, the corner of his mouth lifting. "So are you." The storm had reached its peak, wind howling around the building's edges like a living thing. They'd moved closer together, the expensive blanket draped across both their laps, bodies generating heat the backup generator couldn't provide. "Can I ask you something personal?" Kayla ventured, emboldened by wine and darkness. "You can ask. Why are you alone? Someone like you." His expression closed slightly. "Someone like me? Successful, intelligent." She hesitated. "Not terrible to look at." That earned a genuine laugh. "Not terrible? You know you're handsome," she said, rolling her eyes. "That's not an actual question. I was engaged once." His voice turned serious. "She wanted the lifestyle, not me." After that, he shrugged. Easier to stay alone than guess people's motives. Kayla nodded, understanding more than he knew. Trust issues. Experience issues. His eyes met hers. "What about you? No boyfriend wondering where you are tonight?" "No." She looked down. "I don't date much." "Why not?" "You're beautiful." The compliment hung between them, sincere and unexpected. When she looked up, his expression had changed. Eyes darkened with something beyond polite conversation. Rain drummed against the windows like applause as Manhattan glittered below, a sea of emergency lights and shadows, creating an intimate universe where only they existed. "I should check the weather report," he murmured, not moving. "Probably." Neither looked away. Something electric charged the air between them, making it hard to breathe. Later, she couldn't say who moved first, only that suddenly his hand cupped her cheek, thumb brushing her lower lip. "Kayla." Her name sounded different in his voice. "If you don't want this, tell me now." In answer, she leaned forward and pressed her lips to his. The kiss started gentle, a question rather than a demand. His hands remained carefully placed, one at her waist, one cradling her face. But when she sighed against his mouth, something changed, broke open between them. "I've never," she whispered against his lips. He pulled back, eyes searching hers. "Never." She shook her head, embarrassment warming her cheeks. "We should stop," he said, though his body tensed with obvious restraint. I don't want to stop. Kayla moved closer, heart hammering. I want this. I want you. His control visibly frayed. You're sure? In answer, she took his hand and placed it over her racing heart. What followed unfolded with exquisite care. Each touch a question, each kiss an answer. He undressed her slowly, reverently, pausing often to check her comfort. When they finally came together, her discomfort melted quickly into pleasure she never imagined possible. What would you risk for a moment of genuine connection? How far would you go to feel truly seen by someone who fascinates you? As she drifted to sleep in his arms, 3 words formed in her mind that terrified her. By morning, she'd learned how right she was to be afraid. The same lips that whispered her name in passion now curved in contempt, as he transformed from lover to stranger between one heartbeat and the next. Kayla woke to sunlight streaming through windows and an empty space beside her. For a moment, she thought he'd left. Then she heard his voice, cold, clipped business tone, from the kitchen. The situation is handled, he was saying. Send the car in 30 minutes. She wrapped the sheet around herself, wincing at unfamiliar soreness, and padded toward his voice. Last night felt like a dream. The storm, the conversations, the way he'd touched her with such tenderness. Alexander stood with his back to her, perfectly dressed in a fresh suit, phone pressed to his ear. When he turned, Kayla's smile died on her lips. His face was completely transformed. No trace remained of the man who'd held her. This was the Alexander Kane from magazine covers, cold, distant, impenetrable. You're awake. His tone made the words an accusation. Good morning. Kayla clutched the sheet tighter. Is the power back? He didn't answer, just looked at her with an expression that made her skin crawl. Your clothes are where you left them. Get dressed. Alex. Mr. Kane, he corrected, voice like ice. Confusion and hurt bloomed in her chest. Did I do something wrong? His laugh was nothing like last night's warm sound. Besides the obvious? I don't understand. Let me make it simple. He set his phone down, eyes narrowing. Whatever you thought would happen, money, gifts, special treatment, it won't. Last night was a mistake. The accusation hit like a physical blow. That's not what Save it. You check his watch. I'll call the car for you. I expect you gone when I return. You think I slept with you for money? Her voice shook with anger and humiliation. Didn't you? His smile was cruel. The shy cleaning girl and the billionaire? Please, I've seen this movie before. Morning light streamed through the windows, harsh and unforgiving, stripping away the magic of the night and revealing the penthouse for what it was: cold, sterile, and as emotionally vacant as its owner. Kayla's body still carried the imprint of his touch, gentle kisses along her collarbone, strong hands guiding her hips. The contrast between that tenderness and his current cruelty made her stomach turn. You're wrong about me, she said quietly, dignity the only thing she had left. I'm never wrong about people. He turned away dismissively. Your agency will be notified you're no longer welcome in my building. The sheet trailed behind her like a surrender flag as she gathered her uniform, locking herself in the bathroom to change. Tears threatened, but she refused to let them fall. Not here, not where he might see. When she emerged, he was gone, leaving only a security guard waiting to escort her out. Have you ever been misjudged so completely it left you breathless? How did you respond when someone saw the worst in you instead of the truth? She held her tears until the elevator doors closed, her reflection fractured in the mirrored walls. Only then did she allow herself to break. Not knowing she was being watched, her humiliation recorded by security cameras that would soon become her undoing. A single night cost Kayla her job, her reputation, and her home, but it was only when she saw her face splashed across gossip sites that she realized her nightmare was just beginning. The firing came first. Monday morning, her supervisor called with clipped tones. We've received a complaint. Your services are no longer required. No explanation. No chance to defend herself. Just like that, 3 months of reliable work erased. The second blow landed 3 days later. An eviction notice. Rent past due, no extensions. The timing wasn't coincidental. She was sure of it. Her tiny Brooklyn apartment felt even smaller with eviction papers on the table, the walls closing in as her phone buzzed relentlessly with notifications. Strangers commenting on a night they knew nothing about. Gold digger, opportunist, sleut. The comments appeared beneath a grainy security image of her entering the elevator in Alexander's building, timestamp clearly visible. The story spread across gossip sites within hours. Billionaire's midnight cleaner, tech titan's latest conquest. This is illegal, Kayla whispered, scrolling through comments from strangers dissecting her character, her motives, her worth. Somehow they found her social media accounts, flooding them with hate. She tried calling Kane Industries, 27 attempts, 27 rejections. Emails bounced back. Security stopped her at the lobby. "I just need 5 minutes," she begged the stone-faced guard. "You're on the ban list, ma'am. Please leave before we call police." 2 weeks after the blackout, Kayla sat in a coffee shop using their free Wi-Fi, apartment contents and storage, sleeping on a friend's couch. Job applications went unanswered. Her name now toxic in a city where gossip traveled faster than light. "Excuse me," a woman said, sliding into the seat across from her. "Are you Kayla Brooks?" Kayla tensed, preparing for another attack. "Who's asking?" "Someone who knows you're being set up." The woman, mid-30s, expensive suit, sharp eyes, slid a business card across the table. "I work for Kane Industries. If this is some kind of joke." "It's not." The woman leaned forward. "The rumors didn't start organically. They were planted by our PR department." "Why would they?" "Orders from the top." She glanced around nervously. "Mr. Kane instructed them to discredit you. Make sure no one would believe anything you might say." Cold fury replaced exhaustion. "Say about what? I barely know him." "That's why I'm here." The woman pulled out her phone, showing Kayla an internal email. "This isn't about you. It's about protecting something bigger. How would you fight back if your reputation was destroyed overnight? What would you do if the world believed lies about you?" The email arrived without warning. Anonymous but detailed, containing information only someone inside Kane Industries could know. "Not everything is as it seems," it read. "He's hiding something bigger than you can imagine." She entered his corporate headquarters not as a lover or a victim, but as a hunter, determined to expose the truth no matter what it cost her. Kane Tower dominated Midtown like a glass monument to wealth and power. Kayla studied it from a coffee shop across the street, the mysterious email burning in her mind. After 3 days of careful planning, she was ready. ID badge. The security guard barely glanced up as Kayla approached the desk. Delivery from marketing. She hefted the flower arrangement she'd bought with her last $20. Birthday surprise. The trick worked. A visitor pass and directions to the 34th floor. In the elevator, Kayla swapped her delivery cap for a blazer borrowed from a roommate. Amazing how different people looked at you when you dressed like you belonged. Marketing buzzed with activity. Perfect cover for a stranger wandering the halls. Following the directions from her anonymous source, Kayla slipped into an empty office and accessed the computer. Come on," she muttered, typing in the password she'd been given. Files appeared, internal memos about the Brooks situation, emails planning the systematic destruction of her reputation, all bearing the signature of Vivian Chun, head of public relations. Kayla copied everything to a flash drive, heart pounding. As she stood to leave, the door opened. "You're either brave or stupid," said a woman, closing the door behind her. The same woman from the coffee shop. "Probably both. I needed proof." Kayla gripped the flash drive. "Why are you helping me?" "Because what they're doing to you is wrong." The woman, Angela, according to her badge, crossed her arms. "And because you're not the real target." "Then who is?" Angela handed her a folder. "See for yourself." Inside was a single photograph. Alexander holding a young girl with his gray eyes and serious expression. They stood outside a hospital, both looking over their shoulders as if afraid of being seen. "His daughter," Angela explained. "Emma, 7 years old, currently undergoing treatment for leukemia at Memorial Sloan Kettering." The floor seemed to tilt under Kayla's feet. "Daughter? He is a child nobody knows about." A child whose mother is threatening to use against him in a very public, very ugly custody battle. Unless he pays $20 million. Blackmail. Angela nodded. The mother knows about you. Threatened to say he's an unfit father with a revolving door of women. He needed to discredit you before she could use you in court. So he destroyed my life to protect his secret. Anger flared hot in Kayla's chest. To protect his daughter, Angela corrected. The publicity would hurt her most. Sick kids shouldn't have to see their parents torn apart in tabloids. Before Kayla could respond, alarms blared. Security breach. They found you. Take the service elevator to the parking garage. Angela pressed a key card into her hand. I never saw you. Have you ever turned detective in your own life? Uncovered secrets someone tried to hide? Share your experience below. The file contained just one photo. Alexander with a child who had his eyes, his jawline, his unmistakable presence. A child no one knew existed. And suddenly his cruelty made perfect, terrible sense. She came armed with his secrets, ready for war. Only to find a broken man behind the billionaire mask. 3 days after infiltrating Kane Industries, Kayla bypassed security entirely. She simply waited in the private parking garage until his sleek black Audi pulled in, stepping out of the shadows as he exited the car. We need to talk. Alexander froze, hand halfway to his phone. How did you get in here? The same way I got these. She held up the flash drive. Interest. His face hardened. Whatever you want, the answer is no. What I want, Kayla said, stepping closer, is my life back. My job, my reputation, everything you stole. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes. You're trespassing, and you're hiding a daughter. The words hit like a physical blow. All color drained from his face. My office. Now. His voice was deadly quiet. They rode the executive elevator in tense silence, Alexander radiating cold fury. His office occupied the entire top floor, windows on all sides giving the impression of floating above the city. A king surveying his domain until she walked in carrying truth like a weapon. Where did you get that information? He demanded once the door closed. Does it matter? I know about Emma. I know about her mother's blackmail. He moved with unexpected speed, gripping her shoulders. If you breathe a word about my daughter to anyone, I'm not the enemy. Kayla, shove him back. I'm the person whose life you destroyed for no reason. No reason. He laughed bitterly. You have no idea what's at stake. Then tell me, you owe me that much. They stood inches apart, both breathing hard. For a moment, Kayla thought he might throw her out. Instead, he turned away, shoulders slumping in defeat. Emma was diagnosed 2 years ago, he said finally. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. The anger Kayla had nursed for weeks wavered. I'm sorry. Her mother and I were never married. Brief relationship, unplanned pregnancy. He rubbed his face, suddenly looking exhausted. Melissa didn't want a child. I did. We agreed I'd have full custody, generous support payments, complete privacy. What changed? Emma got sick. Experimental treatments aren't cheap, even for me. His voice tightened. Suddenly Melissa decided she wanted to be a mother, right when I made the Forbes billionaire list. Kayla's mind raced, pieces falling into place. So that night when Melissa's lawyer had just called, threatening to tell the world about Emma, painting me as a heartless father who hides his sick child. His eyes met hers. When I woke up beside you, all I could think was that I'd given her more ammunition. So you threw me away. The hurt rose fresh in her throat, made me into the villain. I made a choice to protect my daughter. He didn't flinch from the accusation. I'd make it again. At my expense. Yes. At least he was honest. I can write you a check. Whatever amount. I don't want your money. The words exploded from her. I want my life back. I can't give you that. Try harder. She stepped closer, jabbing a finger at his chest. Because I'm not going away, and I have nothing left to lose. When have you discovered someone's actions, however hurtful, came from a place of protection rather than cruelty? Did it change how you felt about them? My daughter has leukemia, he said, voice breaking for the first time. And her mother is using her against me. If this gets out. He didn't finish, but the fear in his eyes completed the sentence. Everything he'd built would collapse. The man who destroyed her life now needed her help, and despite every reason to walk away, Kayla found herself saying yes. They met at a small restaurant in Chelsea, neutral territory. Rain pounded the sidewalks outside, the weather matching Kayla's mood. "Thank you for coming," Alexander said, looking strangely ordinary in jeans and a sweater instead of his usual tailored suits. "I'm here because you said concerned Emma." Kayla kept her coat on, not committing to staying. "Not for you." He nodded, accepting the distinction. "Melissa's lawyers contacted me again. They're pushing for joint custody, immediate public acknowledgement, and access to Emma's medical decisions." "And the blackmail?" Still on the table, but with a twist. His jaw tightened. "Now, they're suggesting I have an inappropriate relationship with one of my employees." "Me," Kayla realized. They found out about that night. They have the building security footage. He looked genuinely regretful. "I am sorry." The waitress interrupted with menus. Kayla finally removed her coat, accepting she'd stay at least for a meal. "What does this have to do with me?" she asked once they were alone. "Haven't you done enough damage?" "I need your help." The words seemed to cause him physical pain. "To protect Emma." Rain streaked down the restaurant windows, creating watery barriers between their private booth and the outside world. A visual reminder of the bubble they now shared, filled with dangerous secrets and reluctant trust. "You destroyed my reputation, and now you want my help?" Kayla laughed bitterly. "That's rich, even for a billionaire. I'll clear your name, publicly apologize, get you any job you want." His eyes met hers across the table. "But I need you to hear my proposal first." Despite herself, Kayla was curious. "I'm listening." "Melissa's case depends on painting me as an unstable, uncaring father with casual relationships." He leaned forward. "But what if instead of a one-night stand, you were something else?" "Something like what?" "Someone important to me." His fingers brushed against hers as he reached for the water glass. "Someone who matters." The touch, even accidental, sent unwanted heat through her body. "You want me to lie? I want you to help me create a narrative Melissa can't use against Emma." His voice softened. "The court considers stable relationships when determining what's best for the child." Understanding dawned. "You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend?" "Fiancé, actually." Kayla nearly choked on her water. "You can't be serious." "Completely." He pulled out his phone, showing her a calendar. "Emma has a critical treatment phase starting next month. The custody hearing is the week before. Timing that isn't coincidental. So, you want me to play house until the hearing? After everything you did?" I know it's asking a lot. For the first time since she'd met him, Alexander looked vulnerable. "But this isn't about me. It's about a 7-year-old girl who's fighting for her life. Would you help someone who hurt you if innocent lives hung in the balance? What's your price for forgiveness?" "I need someone I can trust," he said, the irony thick between them. "Someone no one would suspect." His eyes met hers across the table. "I need you to pretend we're engaged." She wore his 3-carat ring like armor, playing the role of loving fiancé to the man who'd shattered her heart, a performance that fooled everyone except her own treacherous body. "Too tight?" Alexander asked as he slipped the diamond ring onto her finger. "It's fine." Kayla stared at the massive stone, feeling its weight in more ways than one. "This thing cost more than my entire life. It's just for show." He adjusted it slightly. Part of the story. Their story had been carefully crafted over the past week. Secret dating for months, whirlwind romance, private engagement. All explained away by Alexander's desire to protect his privacy and his daughter. "Remember, we met at a charity event last fall." He reminded her as they rode to the hospital. "Not through the cleaning service. I know the script." Kayla stared out the window, mentally rehearsing their fictional history. "I've been living it for days." The car stopped at Memorial Sloan Kettering's private entrance. Alexander's hand covered hers. "Emma doesn't know about any of this. About her mother's threats, the custody battle, our arrangement." His voice softened. "To her, you're just Dad's special friend who's coming to visit." Something in his expression made Kayla's anger falter. "I would never upset a sick child." "I know." He squeezed her hand. "That's why you're here." Emma Kane had her father's serious gray eyes and dark hair, but none of his guardedness. She sat up in bed when they entered, face lighting with curiosity. "Are you Kayla?" she asked immediately. "Daddy said you were pretty." He was right. Alexander looked mortified. "Emma, it's okay." Kayla laughed, genuinely charmed. "You're pretty too, Emma. I love your pajamas. They're space pajamas." Emma pointed to the planets. "I want to be an astronaut, or a doctor, or both." The hospital room transformed when Emma smiled, its clinical whiteness and mechanical beeping fading in a background noise against the bright spirit of a child who had her father's eyes and none of his shadows. Kayla watched Alexander with his daughter, noticing how completely he changed around her. Gone was the cold CEO, replaced by a man who knew every detail of his daughter's life. Her favorite books, her stuffed animals' names, which nurses she liked best. "You're good with her," Kayla said later as Emma napped. "She's easy to be good with." His smile held genuine warmth. "Thank you for today. She liked you." "I liked her too." Kayla meant it. "She's extraordinary." Like her father, he asked, a hint of their night together in his voice. Heat rushed to Kayla's cheeks. "Don't." He looked away. Force of habit. Flirting. Being honest. His eyes met hers. "Despite everything, I haven't forgotten that night." Neither had she. That was the problem. Playing this role meant constantly fighting her body's memory of his touch, his taste, the way he'd made her feel. 3 days later, they attended their first public event together, a hospital benefit gala where Alexander's ex-wife would be present. Kayla wore a borrowed designer gown, the massive engagement ring catching every light. Have you ever pretended so well you began believing your own act? Was playing a role revealed something true about yourself? The kiss was supposed to be for show, a performance for his ex-wife watching from across the benefit gala. But when his lips touched hers, Kayla's body remembered everything her mind wanted to forget. And worse, so did his. Playing pretend became dangerous the night Alexander stopped acting, when his touch crossed the line from fiction to desperate truth. 3 weeks into their arrangement, the boundaries Kayla had carefully maintained began to crack. It wasn't just the public appearances or the practiced affection for cameras. It was the small moments no one else saw. Alexander bringing her coffee exactly how she liked it, his hand automatically finding the small of her back when they walked, the way he actually listened when she spoke. "You're staring again," he said one evening as they reviewed case documents in his penthouse. "Just thinking." Kayla looked away quickly. About the hearing next week. But they both knew it was more. The penthouse no longer felt like enemy territory, but something worse, familiar, like returning to a place that had once been home, where memories lingered in every corner. "We should practice," he said suddenly, setting aside his laptop. "Practice what?" "Looking like we're in love." Alexander moved closer on the sofa. "Melissa will be watching for any sign we're faking. We've done fine at events, professional events, clinical settings." His voice dropped, not intimate ones. The air between them changed, charged with something beyond their arrangement. Outside, rain began to fall, eerily similar to the night that had started everything. "Alexander, I owe you an apology," he interrupted, expression unusually open. "A real one, not the public statement my lawyers crafted." Kayla tensed. "For which part?" "All of it." He ran a hand through his hair, looking more human than she'd ever seen him. "For how I treated you that morning. For what I said. For letting my fear for Emma make me cruel to someone who didn't deserve it." The words she'd waited weeks to hear. Yet instead of satisfaction, Kayla felt something dangerously close to forgiveness. "Why now?" she asked quietly. "Because pretending to care about you has made me realize." He paused, searching for words. "I wasn't entirely pretending." Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Don't say things you don't mean." "I never do." His hand found hers, thumb tracing circles on her palm. "That's my problem." The touch was electric, sending heat spiraling through her body. Weeks of proximity, of playing lovers while denying their one real night together, had created an unbearable tension. "This complicates everything," she whispered, not pulling away. Everything was already complicated. His other hand brushed her cheek. "Kayla, if you want me to stop." She kissed him, not for show, not for cameras or ex-wives or custody hearings. For herself. What followed was nothing like their first night. No hesitation, no gentle exploration. This was recognition, bodies remembering what minds had tried to forget. His hands gripped her hips as she straddled him, mouth hot against her neck. "Are you sure?" he gasped as she pulled at his shirt. "Stop asking." She bit gently at his lower lip. "I know what I want." They didn't make it to the bedroom. The couch, the floor, finally the kitchen counter. Each location a reclaiming of space, of memories, of truth. We finally carried her to his bed. They were both already spent, yet somehow still hungry. "This changes things," he murmured against her hair afterward. "Does it?" Kayla traced the lines of his chest, suddenly afraid. "Or is this just another performance?" His fingers tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Not for me. Not anymore." Is physical connection sometimes easier than emotional forgiveness? When has your body remembered what your mind tried to forget? The bedroom door opened without warning. Emma's standing there in her pajamas, eyes wide at the sight of them tangled together. "Daddy," she asked, her voice small, "is Kayla going to be my new mom for real?" The morning headlines shattered their fragile peace. Tech billionaire's secret child revealed. Custody battle looms as health crisis exposed. Kayla stared at her phone in horror. Every major news outlet carried the story, complete with photos of Emma leaving the hospital, Alexander shielding her from cameras, and, most shocking, Kayla holding the child's other hand, diamond ring clearly visible. "It's everywhere," she whispered as Alexander paced his living room. Phone pressed to his ear. "Find out who leaked it," he barked to someone on the line. "I don't care how. Just do it." Emma remained blissfully unaware, still sleeping in the guest room where she'd spent the night after finding them together. That moment of innocence, "Is Kayla going to be my new mom?" now took on devastating weight. Alexander ended his call, face carved from stone. Melissa's already given 3 interviews, playing the heartbroken mother kept from her sick child. That's insane. She abandoned Emma. Public doesn't know that. He ran both hands through his hair. The narrative's already forming. Ruthless businessman hides daughter, denies mother access. Kayla's phone buzzed with a text from Angela. Hospital surrounded by press. Delay Emma's appointment. Hospital corridors echoed with hurried footsteps as they rushed through, reporters held back by security. The sanctuary of Emma's treatment now invaded by the very exposure they'd fought to prevent. "Why are those people taking pictures?" Emma asked, clinging to Alexander's hand as they navigated through back entrances. "Because they don't have anything better to do," he answered, voice gentle despite his fury. Dr. Chen met them in a private room, expression grave. Emma's numbers dropped overnight. "We need to move up the treatment schedule." "How soon?" Alexander asked, instinctively reaching for Kayla's hand. "Tomorrow, and she'll need to stay inpatient this round." Emma's lower lip trembled. "I hate staying here." Kayla knelt beside her chair. "What if I bring your space pajamas? And that book about the girl astronaut?" The child's face brightened slightly. "You'll visit every day," Kayla promised before she could stop herself. As Emma underwent pre-treatment tests, Alexander and Kayla huddled in the family waiting room, the engagement ring no longer feeling like a prop on her finger. "Melissa's filing for emergency custody," he said, showing Kayla an email from his lawyer. "Claiming Emma's condition proves I'm an unfit father." "That's ridiculous. You're with her constantly." "She's also claiming our relationship is evidence of instability." His voice tightened. "That I'm exposing Emma to a parade of women." Kayla's chest ached with anger. "She's using her own daughter's illness as a weapon. Always has been." Alexander looked suddenly exhausted. "Emma's trust fund is worth $50 million. Whoever has custody controls it until she's 25. Her phone chimed with a news alert. She gasped as she read it. "What now?" Alexander asked. Wordlessly, she handed him the phone. The headline screamed, "Kane's fake fiancée inside the billionaire's elaborate custody scheme." The article detailed their entire arrangement, the cleaning job, the false engagement, even quotes from inside sources claiming Alexander had hired Kayla to create a false image of family stability. How far would you go to protect a child who isn't yours? Well, have you fought for someone else's family as if it were your own? It was someone inside your company, Kayla whispered, showing him the evidence on her phone. Someone close to you. His face hardened as realization dawned. There's only one person who knew everything, my brother. Family betrayal cut deeper than any lover's rejection. But this time, Alexander wasn't facing his brother's treachery alone. Cancel my appointments, Alexander told his assistant as they stormed through Kane Industries. And tell security to hold my brother if he tries to leave. Kayla struggled to keep pace with his furious stride. Are you sure it's him? Only 3 people knew everything about our arrangement. You, me, and Daniel. His jaw clenched, and Daniel's always resented that I control the company. The executive floor fell silent as they passed, employees shrinking from Alexander's barely contained rage. His brother waited in the executive lounge, looking unconcerned as they entered. Quite the media circus, Alex, Daniel said, sipping coffee. Melissa's really outdone herself. Cut the act. Alexander's voice was deadly quiet. I know it was you. Daniel's smile never wavered. I don't know what you're talking about. The leak to the press. The detailed information about Kayla and me. Alexander moved closer. Information only you had. The executive lounge emptied quickly when Alexander's voice rose, leaving the brothers alone with Kayla. Manhattan's lights spread below them like watching eyes as family secrets spilled across imported marble. You've always been paranoid, Daniel shrugged. Maybe your girlfriend sold you out. Wouldn't be the first time a woman betrayed you. Kayla stepped forward. Except I traced the email accounts that contacted the press. They all lead back to an IP address registered to your home network. Daniel's composure cracked slightly. You're bluffing. Want to see the records? She pulled out her phone. Technology's amazing these days. Alexander moved with startling speed, grabbing his brother by his expensive lapels. Why? Emma is your niece. Emma is your mistake. Daniel snarled, mask finally dropping. A mistake that's cost this company millions in secret treatments and diverted resources. Kayla watched the brothers, so similar yet fundamentally different. One willing to sacrifice everything for his child, the other viewing that same child as a liability. The board deserved to know where company money was going, Daniel continued. Your personal slush fund for a kid nobody knew about. It was my money, Alexander's knuckles whitened. My personal accounts, which should have been reinvested in the company. We're losing market share while you play daddy to a kid who might not even make. Alexander's fist pulled back. Kayla lunged forward, catching his arm. He's not worth it, she said quietly. Emma needs you, not a scandal. The mention of his daughter seemed to break through Alexander's fury. He released his brother, stepping back with visible effort. You're fired, he said coldly. Clear out your office today. Daniel straightened his jacket, smirking. You can't fire me. I'm a Kane. I'm on the board. Not anymore. Alexander's smile was all teeth. Emergency board meeting this morning. First item of business. Your removal for corporate espionage. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Alexander's voice dropped. And if Emma suffers because of your leak, if her treatment is compromised in any way, I will destroy you. Daniel's facade finally cracked completely. This company was supposed to be ours together. Then you got distracted by that woman and her brat. Kayla physically stepped between them when Alexander moved forward again, her hands on his chest. He's trying to provoke you, she whispered. Don't give him what he wants. When has someone's betrayal blindsided you completely? How do you recover when the enemy was family all along? You think this is over? His brother laughed, straightening his tie. I've already sent the medical records to her mother's lawyers. By this time tomorrow, you'll lose your daughter and your company. 12 hours to save a child, a company, and a future neither of them had dared to imagine. Sometimes the greatest battles happen in conference rooms, not courtrooms. He sent them everything, Alexander's lawyer confirmed, spreading papers across the penthouse dining table. Emma's complete medical file, treatment schedule, even her doctor's private notes. How bad is it? Kayla asked, bringing coffee to the makeshift war room they'd created. Bad. The lawyer, Janet Morris, a razor-sharp woman in her 50s, pointed to highlighted sections. Melissa's team will argue the experimental treatments showed desperation, poor judgment. Alexander paced by the windows, Manhattan's lights blurring as midnight approached. We have a hearing at 9 tomorrow. That gives us what? 8 hours to build a defense. Dawn broke over Manhattan as they worked through the night, legal papers covering every surface of the penthouse living room. Coffee cups and determination, the only things keeping them upright. Janet outlined their strategy. We counter with Emma's improved response rates, doctor testimonials, your perfect attendance record at every appointment. It won't be enough, Alexander said, rubbing his eyes. Melissa has the media on her side now. Kayla had been quiet, reviewing the custody agreement for the 5th time. Something kept nagging at her, a detail just beyond reach. Wait, she said suddenly. Go back to the original contract Melissa signed. Janet shuffled papers. The surrogacy agreement? Surrogacy? Kayla looked up, startled. Alexander nodded. Emma is biologically mine, but Melissa was a surrogate, not a traditional birth mother. We used my sperm, donor eggs. Which means... Kayla grabbed the contract, scanning rapidly. Here it is. Clause 23B. Surrogate relinquishes all parental rights and claims, forfeiting any future custody rights, visitation privileges, or medical decision authority. Janet snatched the document, eyes widening. She signed away her rights completely. Legally, she has no standing to file for custody. But she's been lying, Kayla finished. Counting on the public, not knowing the difference between a biological mother and a surrogate. For the first time in days, hope flickered in Alexander's eyes. Will it hold up? It's ironclad, Janet confirmed, already typing furiously on her laptop. We file an emergency motion to dismiss based on lack of standing. As morning approached, they finalized their strategy. Alexander looked at Kayla with something like wonder. How did you catch that? We've had lawyers reviewing that document for weeks. She shrugged. My grandmother was a paralegal. I spent summers filing contracts in her office. She smiled slightly. Plus, I actually read the fine print. Their moment was interrupted by Alexander's phone ringing. The hospital. Emma's fever spiked overnight, he said after hanging up, face pale. They're moving her to intensive care. The courtroom or the hospital. An impossible choice for any parent. Go to her, Kayla said, taking the legal files. I'll handle this. He hesitated only a moment before pressing the company authorization into her hand. I trust you, he said, with everything. When have you fought impossible odds for someone you love? What gave you the strength to continue when everything seemed lost? The hospital called as they were walking into court. Emma's condition had worsened dramatically. Go to her, Kayla said, taking the legal files. I'll handle this. He hesitated only a moment before pressing the company authorization into her hand. I trust you, he said, with everything. She stood alone against lawyers, executives, and a vengeful ex-wife, armed with nothing but truth and the authority of a man who'd finally learned to trust. The courtroom hummed with whispers as Kayla walked through the double doors alone. Reporters lined the back wall, while Melissa and her expensive legal team occupied the front table, looking triumphant at Alexander's absence. Where's Mr. Kane? The judge asked, glancing at his watch. Kayla stepped forward. At Memorial Sloan Kettering, Your Honor. His daughter was moved to intensive care this morning. Convenient, Melissa's lawyer remarked. It's documented, Counselor, Kayla replied, sliding medical reports across to the clerk. Emma's condition is critical. Mr. Kane has authorized me to represent Kane Industries' interests. Judge Rivera examined the authorization. And you are Kayla Brooks, Your Honor, Mr. Kane's fiancée and authorized representative. Melissa snorted audibly. His pretend fiancée, you mean? Ms. Wilson, the judge warned. You'll have your turn. The courtroom fell silent as Kayla approached the bench, her discount store heels clicking against marble floors where legal titans usually tread, her chin high as she carried the weight of a family that had somehow become hers to protect. Your Honor, we move to dismiss this case immediately, Kayla began, her voice steadier than her nerves. Ms. Wilson has no legal standing to pursue custody. Objection! Melissa's lawyer jumped up. My client is the child's mother. No, she isn't, Kayla corrected. She was a compensated surrogate who signed away all parental rights. She presented the contract, directing the judge to the specific clause. Ms. Wilson has known from day one she had no legal claim to Emma Kane. This lawsuit is nothing but an extortion attempt. The judge frowned, reading carefully. Ms. Wilson, did you sign this document? Melissa shifted uncomfortably. Yes, but I didn't understand. She understood perfectly, Kayla interrupted, producing another document. As evidenced by these text messages demanding $20 million to go away quietly 3 weeks ago. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Melissa's face flushed with anger. Furthermore, Kayla continued, Ms. Wilson has never attended a single medical appointment, school event, or birthday in Emma's entire life, until Mr. Kane's company valuation hit $10 billion. The courtroom doors opened, and Alexander walked in, looking exhausted but determined. His eyes found Kayla's instantly, a silent message passing between them. Mr. Kane, the judge acknowledged. Your daughter, stabilized, Your Honor. He moved to stand beside Kayla. Thanks to the medical team, my company's research division has funded for the past 2 years. Judge Rivera studied the documents for what felt like hours. Finally, she looked up. This court finds that Melissa Wilson has no legal standing to pursue custody. Case dismissed. She fixed Melissa with a stern look. And I'm referring these extortion attempts to the district attorney. The courtroom erupted. Melissa stormed out. Reporters rushed for the doors. But Alexander remained still, his hand finding Kayla's. You did it, he whispered. We did it, she corrected. Outside, rain had given way to unexpected sunshine. Alexander stopped on the courthouse steps, turning to face Kayla. I need to ask you something, he said, eyes serious. Now, instead of answering, he dropped to one knee, right there on the wet steps. The ring, the same one she'd worn as a prop, appeared in his hand. This time, he whispered, I'm asking for real. Have you ever surprised yourself with your own strength? Or have you stood tallest in your moment of greatest fear? The judge's ruling left no room for appeal. Emma would stay with her father. The company remained his, and the ex-wife's manipulations were exposed. As the courtroom emptied, Alexander dropped to one knee, the engagement ring in his hand, no longer a prop, but a question. This time, he whispered, I'm asking for real. 1 year after a power outage trapped them in darkness, Kayla stood in a hospital room flooded with sunlight, watching a little girl ring the remission bell, proof that some storms lead to the brightest dawns. Ready? Dr. Chen asked, smiling at Emma. The 8-year-old nodded, gripping the rope attached to the brass bell that hung in the pediatric oncology ward. Alexander stood behind her, one hand on her shoulder, the other holding Kayla's. 1, 2, 3. Emma pulled with all her might, the clear sound echoing down the hospital corridor. Nurses and doctors erupted in applause as Emma beamed. I did it, Daddy. I did it, Kayla. She threw herself into both their arms, no longer the fragile child of a year ago, but vibrant, recovering, alive. You sure did, Space Explorer, Kayla said, using the nickname that had stuck through months of treatment. Later, walking through Central Park, Emma ran ahead to feed ducks while Alexander pulled Kayla close. She's calling you, Mom, to her friends at school, he said quietly. Kayla watched the little girl, heart full. Is that okay? More than okay. He kissed her temple. The adoption papers are ready whenever you are. Their wedding 3 months earlier had been small. Just family, close friends, and Emma as flower girl. The same judge who dismissed Melissa's case had performed the ceremony in the penthouse where they'd first met, now transformed into a true home filled with children's artwork and family photos. Central Park bloomed around them, the spring wedding intimate and joyful. Emma throwing flower petals with abandon while Manhattan skyline stood witness. The same buildings that had watched their story unfold now framing its joyful conclusion. The foundation board approved the new pediatric wing, Alexander said as they walked. Construction starts next month. The Kane Family Foundation had become Kayla's passion, redirecting millions toward children's medical research and family support during treatment. From cleaning luxury apartments to directing a major foundation, her life had transformed completely. "Did you ever imagine this?" she asked, watching Emma laugh in the sunshine. That night, during the blackout. Never. His honesty was one of the things she'd grown to love most. "I was too busy being afraid. And now I'm too busy being grateful." He stopped, turning to face her. "For the storm, for the power outage, for every moment that led to you." That night, after Emma was asleep, they celebrated in their own way, bodies moving together with the familiarity of true partners and the passion of those who remember what it means to almost lose everything. "I love you," he whispered against her skin, the words no longer rare but precious nonetheless. "Show me how much," she challenged, pulling him closer. Later, wrapped in moonlight filtering through the same windows where they'd watched a storm together a year ago, Kayla placed his hand on her stomach. "There's something I need to tell you," she said softly. "Something that will change everything again." His eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Are you sure?" 3 tests sure. She smiled. Emma's going to be a big sister. His kiss tasted like joy and promise and future. Everything she'd stopped believing in until a power outage trapped her with the most unexpected man. What storm in your life led to unexpected sunshine? When has your greatest pain transformed into your greatest joy? The power had gone out in Manhattan that night, but what neither of them realized then was simple. Sometimes we need darkness to see clearly, and sometimes we need to get lost to finally be found.